From the
And we're live.
center of the universe, the home of Johnny Appleseed, David Letterman, and that one Wright brother who invented claustrophobic seats on an airplane, it's Naptown Nation. Hoosier stuff like tenderloin sandwiches as big as your head, Arnold Ziffel, and cars that go real fast in May and only make left turns. With your hosts, John, Eli, Peggy, Gracie the Wiener Dog, Carl the Mime, and of course, Lou from New Jersey. And now, here's the gang that brought you do it yourself circumcisions, high blood sugar readings, and Jewish rabbis in your driveway. Here are your hosts. Oh, and a good Monday evening to everyone out there. I'm John Guy.
And I'm Eli Racevich with Gracie the Wiener Dog.
And I'm Peg Palmer from Sarasota.
The siren of Sarasota. We want to welcome both of our listeners to Naptown Nation. Eli, how are things there in Indianapolis?
Well, other than our normal excessively high murder rate, it's been a nice day. I was telling Peg, it's still almost 60 degrees here. I unfortunately had to work 2 hours over, so I didn't get to mow my grass. So Gracie the Wiener Dog went outside when I got home and just plopped down in the grass and slept for about 30 minutes in the sunshine. You know how those old ladies are.
Yeah. Okay, you throw the softball up there. You know I've got to take a swing at it. Good Lord. So, Peggy, how is it with you older women?
We just put on our little face masks and our rubber gloves and head off for Publix to pick up groceries, and that's pretty much it.
Now, Gracie the Wiener Dog is a lot older than Peggy.
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah. Gracie the Wiener Dog, the way I've got it calculated out, is about 109 years old. I took the average lifespan of an American woman and divided it by the average lifespan of a wiener dog and multiplied it by her age. She's 16 and a half.
Holy smokes.
Well,
yeah,
you know, the seven human years for dog years thing just doesn't work.
Okay.
Well, John, I know this will shock you, but there's actually some sports news.
Yes. Hey, have you guys listened to that Michigan sports show?
I have listened to bits and pieces. I've listened to bits and pieces from most of the cities.
The Michigan one, he actually puts out a disclaimer of sorts to begin the Michigan podcast. We should do that. I mean,
what's he disclaiming?
Well, let's see. Carl the Mime, who's in his glass box, is naked. And I think, listeners at home, both of them, might want to know that. But, and basically none of the stuff that we talk about is relevant to anything, is it?
Well, we try to tie it into Naptown. I don't know we're always successful, but we make an attempt.
I thought it was really good. Last week, the woman that was on was really good.
And the timing was good on that with the WNBA draft this week.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yes. She is, we've talked since then, and she and I are going to become fast friends. I'm predicting.
Via the softball link, or
Well, we're going to get her down to Roanoke, Virginia, for this softball showcase, but it sort of opens up a whole new sport for her as an agent, because as it turns out, women can actually make money playing softball.
oh, I love fast pitch.
That's
girls
great.
softball.
They got,
What is going on?
yeah, is the circus tent up?
Well, I had to deal with
Put
Gracie
the
the wiener dog
monkeys
right
in
before
their
this.
cages.
And now I'm dealing with Libby the Dumbo dog. Hopefully she's done for the night. She's cute. She's cute as can be, but kind of like the old Hollywood stereotype for platinum blondes. She's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Oh,
What kind of dog is she?
She's an English Bull Terrier, Spuds McKenzie, the target dog.
Isn't that the same one as Patton had, General Patton?
Yes, his name.
That's what I
His
thought.
dog's name was Willie. Pappy Boyington had one also, Baba Black Sheep.
Yeah, I love that dog in the movie Patton. That was such a cool dog.
what the hell are we just mumbling about right now?
Well, we were talking about
need-
English Bull Terriers, but I'm ready for the WNBA draft, John.
Okay, talk to me.
All right. Fever had 3 picks. They went big. They had the number 3 overall. They went big. They got the Lauren Cox girl from Baylor. She's not a giant. I think she's around 6'3", but the thing is, she's tough inside. She averaged almost 9 boards a game. And if you'll remember, about 2 months ago, we were talking about the 6'10" European girl the Fever signed.
Yeah.
And they also have Tiara McCowan on their roster, who's 6'7". So they're definitely going big up front. In round 2 and round 3, they drafted guards. I think they may have got a deal on that Kathleen Doyle from Iowa. There's always good women's basketball out in Iowa.
Oh, absolutely.
And she was a good all-around guard and a good scorer. Of note for this draft, let's face it, the Fever really sucked the last few years. Tamika Catchings, it's her first draft as the general manager. And I think she did all right, especially those first 2. I think the first 2 are going to be solid players. We had one local girl get drafted.
From where?
Brain fart. Forgot to college. I can't think, John. Remember, I've had a stroke. She played up in, she's from Noblesville, Indiana.
Okay.
She got drafted 7th overall by Dallas. And she went to Heritage Christian High School here, led the team to 3 straight high school titles. And Indiana likes to punish success. And that happened to my sons at Cardinal Ritter. If you win the state 2 times in a row, they make you go up a class. So they won 2A twice in a row, and they moved them up to 3A, and they still won.
Wow.
Yeah, the WNBA draft was virtual, and they don't have quite the money the NFL is going to dump in it.
Well,
but it proved it. It proved it'll work.
Were there any holograms?
Did not see any, especially dancing one, John.
Damn.
But hey, there's
Such a good idea.
It is.
It is, because you can bring up, all of a sudden Amelia Earhart could be, calling the next pick.
They could use the girl who was in the Clint Eastwood boxing movie. I can't think of her name now. She'd make a good Amelia Earhart in a movie.
Well,
She has big teeth. I remember that.
And that's what most guys are looking for when they're looking for, a lady to
That has big
settle
teeth.
down with. I know I'm.
Well, you forget, John. I was raised on a farm, so we always looked at teeth on the animals. So
I see. Peggy knew me way, way back. Peggy knew me in 1974.
Right. Good memory, John.
46 years ago, and even then, I think she will attest to the fact that I was very big on teeth. Mhm.
Really?
No. Duh.
Well, John, I'm not right in the head. I boxed and I played football for 30 years.
Well,
I did have some sad Colts news, John.
Uh-oh.
My second favorite all-time Colt after Johnny U passed away. Mad Dog Mike Curtis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was drafted to play fullback back in 65. And I was thinking about that. There used to be a lot of really good linebackers that came into the league drafted as fullbacks or played fullback in college. Butkus, Nitsky being two other big 60s guys, Tommy Novus. Curtis will never get in the Hall of Fame, but as the Hall of Fame's deteriorated into the Hall of Very Good now, I think he should be the first inductee into the Hall of Very Good. He Pro Bowler 4 times, first team All-Pro twice, 1970 AFC Defensive Player of the Year, 21 interceptions as an outside linebacker back in the 60s and early 70s was a big number because, Joe
Yes,
Willie and those guys, they threw the ball downfield. It wasn't this little 6-yard pick play across the middle. Recovered 8 fumbles and he scored 3 touchdowns as a linebacker. But his most famous play, Colts won Super Bowl 5. He's the guy who picked off Craig Morton and set up Jim O'Brien's winning field goal.
One of the Green Bay Packers elites also passed on this past week, didn't they?
Willie Davis. Not only a true first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, but everything I've ever read about the guy and interviews that people talking, he was probably a better man than he was football player. There was a very moving interview with Bill Curry, former Packer and Colt All-Star center.
Yeah.
And he said he was scared to death to go to Green Bay because Green Bay had a lot of black players under Lombardi because Lombardi treated everybody the same, like dirt. And he was afraid he wasn't going to be accepted because he was from the South, had a heavy Southern drawl. And, Lombardi wrote him just constantly and said that one day he was coming back to the dorm and out of the shadow steps this big guy. And it's Willie Davis. He thought, oh, no, he's either going to whip my butt or, tell me to get lost. He's going to get me cut. And he said he pulled him aside, talked to him about everything going on. And goes, you've got a lot of heart. He goes, I'm going to get you through this. And he said Willie Davis did that with a lot of players, even guys that, played the same position that he did. If you gave it your all and were a decent human being, he'd go out his way to help you.
Wow.
You're not going to get that in NFL now. I mean, there's too much money to be made.
No.
And who can blame a guy? Somebody wants your $3 million a year job. I'm not going to help him.
I can remember when the Colts first moved to Indy.
Yeah, nighttime, moving van.
Yeah. They had a defensive lineman out of Indiana State University who showed up in camp, their very first camp there in Indy, by the name of Mike Mullen.
Spike.
And he got cut, of course, very quickly. Indiana State, not known as a powerhouse in the world of football. But Mike once told me the story that he hid on the team bus so that he could complete the day and get more money.
There you go.
Wow.
I once cut a guy in indoor professional football up in Duluth, Minnesota, and I was the Turk. My job was to cut guys, and I cut this gentleman, and he didn't leave the dorm. And he stuck around probably 5, 6 days, and people would see him just fleetingly, like down a hallway or something. He'd dash by, and he just hid out in the dorm after he was cut, which I thought, huh, that's pretty good. You got to
You know,
give him credit.
I've read other stories of not as extreme as that one, of guys who didn't have anywhere to go for 2 or 3 days or no bus money to get back. You know, camp body guys.
Yeah.
And you do hear every now and then about an assistant coach or a head coach or a big time player like Reggie White or something that will give them a little bit of bus money and some meal money and get them back home at least. You know, a lot of these guys, the only job they've ever had is play college football.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, and I'm not being disparaging about it, but if you play college football, especially at one of the Big Five conferences, you don't want for anything. You have your own dorm, you know, away from everybody else. You have your own cafeteria. I mean, you're weighted on hand and foot as a scholarship player, and
Sure.
a lot of these guys I don't think, have a lot of real world skills. And fortunately, the NFL, the last 5 years, especially, and probably some teams 10 years, that's part of their camp indoctrination. If you're a free agent or a draftee for like the Packers, they have a 3-day school to get you acclimated to the real world in the NFL. That's all you do for 3 days.
Wow.
And it's to help guys basically who don't make it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I can remember a former Colt, former Jet, Joe Klecko.
Oh, I love Joe Klecko. Short, tough, my kind of guy.
And he played semi-pro ball. He actually started off in semi-pro under an assumed name so that he wouldn't screw up his college eligibility.
Good for him. I have to admit, I've done that.
Yeah. That's a little desperate, but okay. Yeah. So what else is going on there in our Hoosier state, Eli? Anything?
Protesting downtown because of the governor's lockdown orders. You know, I think it's a little late for that. And I'm not picking sides here, but I don't think marching around is a good way to get your point across. And what the really silly thing was, they were protesting at his residence there on Meridian Street. He wasn't home.
Oh,
They missed him.
wow.
About how many people are protesting? Is it a lot of people, or?
There's enough today that they had our rapid response guys out monitoring it, had them down there. I know 2 of the supervisors for our negotiation team couldn't go to a SWAT call out we had today because they were assigned down there with rapid response. But
So-
there wasn't any problems. No one got arrested. No, I don't even think anyone was littering. So it was a well-behaved group, if nothing else.
Oh, that's good.
Are they
People,
protesting
we're
in
not much.
Florida?
We're not much for rioting and going crazy here in Indianapolis. It's a pretty reserved and laid-back crowd.
Yeah, they had a few. There was a small group of protesters, but they had some video of it, and they were really nasty. They were just, really nasty people.
You mean like unkempt or saying and doing nasty things?
Well, no, they were like just really insulting and really kind of, I don't know, full of hot air, kind of just nasty comments about all kinds of people. And they just weren't very pleasant folks to be around, that's for sure. But,
well, what they should, what you should have done, Peggy, is just went out in the middle of them and started coughing. That would have dispersed.
Look, honest to God, I have been out of the house in the last 3 weeks, maybe once, once or twice. It's it's kind of lockdown here. Seriously, is it? It must not be so much there. Does everybody wear masks and?
I'm mask usage from what I've seen, and obviously I'm out during the day now with my job since I'm back on the road. I would say mask usage is under a quarter, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Less than, yeah.
How are masks going to end up protecting you?
Well, I don't think they protect you as much unless you got the really nice ones like the N95s. They're more to keep you from spreading. It's kind of like in surgery. You're not going to infect the doctor and nurse. They're wearing them to not breathe on you. It's that lip spatter, John.
Well,
how about you, John? Do you have a mask?
No. And I was very quick to answer that question, Peggy.
I noticed that. How do you feel about it?
No. Out here in the wild, wild west, we rebel. We do.
We've got lots of space there, so
you've got space.
You don't have the density of population that we have.
And of course, you have the open carry law in Arizona. So you really don't want to walk up to someone and go, "Excuse me, but do you have, shouldn't you be wearing a mask?" Because they could technically, I suppose, just pull out a gun and shoot you.
Ugh.
Yikes.
I would not want to be the lawyer on that one.
No, that'd be a toughie.
Well, they said that was one of the things that people were, and people were hoarding like toilet paper and gathering, all sorts of supplies, that the gun stores were really doing a bang up business, literally.
Bang up. I see what you did there, Peggy.
Yeah. But which is kind of scary to me. I don't know if everybody gets so angry and has guns, it's not going to be pretty.
Well, no, but it will be exciting.
That's true. Will be. And who's barking?
Libby.
Me? Oh,
that's Libby. Gracie's barked once this year.
So how are all sorry.
No, go ahead, Peggy.
I was just going to ask how all your kitties are doing. Katrina's kitties.
They are doing fine.
8 kitties or something. 9 kitties.
Oh my.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes, we have 9 in the house. All rescues, and they have their own area. They can go outside. We have a cat house.
Whoa now.
And
did you run that by the rabbi?
The rabbi took off this afternoon to go and see Marion Barber III down in Frisco, Texas. So he is currently on his way down because evidently they opened up the boxing gyms in the state of Texas. And Marion is excited about being able to go and train to be, the next heavyweight champion of the world. That being said, that means that Marion's leaving his house, getting into a vehicle, driving through the streets of basically Dallas. And he is targeted by the police down there because he's marrying Barbara III. So we're all hoping that now that the gym is open, he does not celebrate to the extent that he's arrested.
Well, I figured since he was a cowgirl, he would be a deity.
You would think, but he's not a native Texan. He's from Minnesota.
Really?
Oh yeah. He's from Peggy's neck of the woods.
Really? Huh.
The whole Barber family. I believe. Oh, Plymouth, Minnesota. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Plymouth is a suburb of Minneapolis.
That's where Marianne was born and raised, and of course, he graduated from the University of Minnesota,
My
Heck of a
alma
college football
mater.
player.
Yeah.
just like his dad did. We played Peggy's alma mater that I, have stopped claiming to be mine. That would be Mount Scenario College of Ladysmith, Wisconsin. We actually played the University of Minnesota in a sporting event. And
How'd it go, John?
we tied them. We actually tied them in soccer. We played on their home turf in the Twin Cities, and we tied them. We tied Michigan Tech. Then we beat the hell out of everybody else we'd play. I can remember we stomped all over University of Minnesota Duluth. We had the best team that money could buy. And believe you me, we bought. Our athletic director was also a used car salesman there locally. And the recruiting policies at Mount Scenario College, I don't think we followed any rules. None. We would just take a bus down to Chicago, stop at a playground, fill said bus up with very large black people, drive them back to Ladysmith, Wisconsin, a town that had 0 black people. They would play X number of games until it was discovered that they were illiterate or the police had a warrant for their arrest, in which case they would sort of vanish. And then we would send another bus down to replace them either at semester's end or when the roster got a little low. And that's how we recruited our basketball team.
I understand that philosophy. In Indianapolis, as you're probably familiar with, John, you've got IPS schools downtown. Most of them suck. Not very good sports teams. And we got the money and the perimeter and the county schools. IPS for a long time was much better in soccer because all the Central American and Mexican kids went to the city schools.
There you
And
go.
they just beat these white boys' butts up here in soccer.
Wow. Before we got into all of this wonderful stuff, I had a podcast called The Wizard of Oz. And I interviewed a guy from West Virginia He had just gotten out of prison for the second time. And he came up with this great idea. Daniel Hicks was his name. Lived in Hurricane, West Virginia, which is midway between Huntington and Charleston. And Daniel was getting out of prison second time. And he thought to himself, I need a retirement program. Now, Eli will attest to the fact that if you have a prison record and you're a person of color, retirement packages in the state of West Virginia are few and far between.
Yeah, they usually involve going back to prison.
They do. But Daniel came up and I interviewed him the whole show with one of the greatest ideas I'd ever heard. What he did is he made some phone calls and he found some refugee guys in a refugee camp in Africa. He said, I would like to sponsor them. So they sent the three refugees to Daniel, who promptly adopted all three. Now, these kids are like 14 to 17 years of age. How, and it could only happen in West Virginia, where a two-time felon would have the ability to adopt. and it wasn't like he had a wife or anything.
A little loose on the background check there.
Little loose. But the three young men from Africa, one was 7'3". One was 7'1". And the 14-year-old was the short guy. He was 6'10". And they all were able to transfer to Hurricane High School in West Virginia for this past season. They became eligible because Daniel lived in the school district. So basically, within 2 years, he's going to have 3 7-footers plus waiting to be recruited by the college of their choice. And you got to believe if you've got 3 guys and the tall one is 7'3" or 7'4", and you're still in high school, you've just taken care of your retirement.
Well, that was a smart move.
Yeah, he can probably get a new Camaro out of that one.
Oh my goodness. I would think, because West Virginia, they're a little bit loose on standards and practices. The only reason John F. Kennedy was elected president was because of West Virginia.
West Virginia. You know it.
Oh, gosh, yes. And they paid for every vote that JFK got in that state. Every vote. You were paid in either currency or liquor.
I was going to say, don't forget the alcohol.
That's right.
You know, it's probably the only presidential election that West Virginia ever had any role in the outcome.
That's correct. And but they gave away an awful lot of money and an awful lot of liquor.
Peggy, you guys usually have some good political shenanigans in Florida.
Yeah, it's always crazy here. um, it's interesting because there's so much talk about, the mail-in vote and how
Yeah, what could
that
go
might be
wrong there?
fair. Yeah, I
What
mean,
could
the fact that
possibly go wrong with
every
that?
single year they lose like boxes and boxes of votes all over the place. Well, they
Lordy.
happened in Wisconsin too, where they lost a bunch of votes. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah.
We've had trouble getting a couple of polling stations, voting locales up the last election. Um, I I think there was some ineptness, and we had made the conversion to machines, which didn't help.
yeah,
You have when you have too many new variables going in, it's just asking for trouble. Indiana politics is pretty calm now. I guess it used to be pretty wild back in the 20s and 30s. The Klan pretty much ran the state back then, Peggy.
Yes.
And,
oh really?
The
yeah.
governor was a
Indiana,
green
huh?
dragon.
Oh, I had no idea. I was
Yeah.
thinking that would be more
Oh,
like
they
Mississippi.
They had the
Well,
torchlight parades going down Meridian and Monument Circle.
That's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
scary.
In fact, it's still fairly strong today in Indiana.
yeah, you get a couple counties south of Indiana. We're right in the middle, Peggy, in Indianapolis, and
Mhm.
there's some strong sentiment down that way, especially down toward the Kentucky border.
Well, and we had Tiny Lee on the show from Decatur, Indiana. What, a few weeks back, and I found out that Decatur, Indiana, was it was a sundown city.
Wow.
If you were a person of color and you were there after the sun went down, you'd be in big trouble.
Oh, that's really scary, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But fortunately, if you've never seen the motion picture, The Green Book, um, Decatur, Indiana was listed in the Green Book as a sundown town, which kind of surprised me because it's not that big of a town, number one. And number two, it's in the middle of the farmland, It's not like it's a suburb of Indianapolis, for Christ's sake.
We have to think though. There were no interstates. You'd had to take state roads or state highways everywhere.
Yeah. I'm eating a cracker with blue cheese on it. I'd really
John.
appreciate if you guys would pick up the.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'll pick, since we're talking about snacks, guess what I had right before the show, John?
What?
Or, let me excuse that, Peggy. I had a West Virginia hot dog.
Oh,
one of those famous ones, is it?
You betcha.
Those?
I was looking
Wow.
around, neighbor next door to the west of me, they roasted a hog in the sun. Saturday she comes over and she said, or comes to the fence and goes, "Hey, we're roasting this hog. We'll bring you some over tomorrow when it's done." I'm like, okay. So I'm expecting, a meal-sized portion. She brought it over. I'm like, I'll be eating this for 2 weeks. I'm single, and so I'd been eating really good of this hog, and but when I looked in the refrigerator I like to have a snack every night about 8:30, and usually it's a ho-ho, a ding-dong, or something like that, and a glass of milk. But I saw this one lonely hot dog in the wrapper in there. I had one left out of the pack of 10, and I thought, this would be a good night for a hot dog. Right before I talked to John.
Oh,
And I had salt and vinegar potato chips with it.
There you go.
I don't know. Being from Minnesota, I just can't get used to salt and vinegar potato chips.
Oh man, I love those things.
Yeah, we don't put vinegar on potatoes really in Minnesota, but everybody here does.
I'm half Slav, so I got to have everything pickled or vinegar.
And then she moved to a state that has 49 different colors of Jello.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Oh, I bet
I'm sure there aren't. I don't know anybody that even eats Jello, but
Whoa, at the cafeterias? Come on.
I never
say,
did.
you got all those old people, Peggy. I guarantee you, there's a bunch of Jello in 2-inch squares with a teaspoon of whipped cream on the top.
That's right.
Yeah, it could be. Although you're more likely finding Jello at all the Minnesota potlucks, all the Midwest potlucks. They always have some variation on Jello.
Do you guys eat a lot of taters up in Minnesota?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Ladysmith, around Ladysmith where Mount Scenario was, they used to have really kind of interesting, like what was it? Mushroom ketchup and odd sorts of things from, what was that little town by Ladysmith? I was trying to think where Joyce was from. Do you remember that, John?
What, Bruce?
Didn't they always have, they had like the street dances, and then they would, because it was a very wooded area, they would go out and gather mushrooms. And I remember her talking about making mushroom ketchup, and I'd never heard of that before.
Well, I moved to Bruce, Wisconsin, and when I got out of the Army, my first hitch. So that would have been 1973. Drive down the main street of Bruce, and of course they have a movie theater, the Bruce Theater, and it was playing, and I am not bullshitting here, Ma and Pa Kettle Go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I almost drove
from Indiana.
I almost drove off of the road thinking, oh my God, it's 1973 and they're showing a Ma and Pa Kettle movie at the local Bijou. I was stunned. But by the same token, my wife at the time, we had a party line. Boy, you can't try to explain that to anyone under the age of 30.
I remember when they used to have Central, like there were party lines, and there was one operator who was, we always just called her Central, and you could just call her and ask her what time it was or any stupid things.
Oh yeah.
Little towns.
John, I got to get my Indiana thing in there. Ma Kettle, Marjorie Main, born in Acton, Indiana, southeast side.
She was from my hometown, actually. Well, she lived in Acton. She went to school in Bogstown, where I used to live. She went to Bogstown High School, home of the Panthers. And
did you ever see her? Did you?
No.
Was she like a famous? She wasn't like a famous person that everybody would.
Oh yeah, she was.
When she came home.
Sort of, kind of. Marjorie Main, besides doing all the Ma and Pa Kettle movies, appeared on Broadway. She was the first flamboyantly gay female actress in Hollywood. And so her family would who was very religious, living there in Acton. Her father was a preacher. Um, had some issues with her gaiety. In fact, her I don't know if you remember this Hollywood actress, Spring Byington.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
remember the
you got me on
name.
that one.
I remember the
Spring,
name, but I don't remember her.
Spring Byington was on one of the old 50s, like September Bride or December Bride, one of those black and white shows. And that was Marjorie Main's girlfriend. They lived together in unwitted bliss for quite a long time when they weren't making TV shows or movies.
Do you know something else she was famous for? Very, very 2020. She was a germaphobe and frequently wore white gloves and a mask.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
Huh.
So she was ahead of her time and by coming out and wearing a mask.
That's very true. She, I still have Ma and Pa Kettle movies here at my house, believe it or not. I grew up with those and I loved them. They,
Yeah, I did too.
well, to this day, I've taught my grandchildren the shortest dinner prayer ever. And that was from the Ma and Pa Kettle movies. Percy Kilbride, as Pa Kettle, would sit there at the dinner table and they'd go, "You want to pray tonight, Pa?" And he would take his hat off and he would say, "Much obliged." And then everyone would attack the food.
No, well, he wasn't
Much
Orthodox. So.
obliged.
Two words. That was it. Much obliged.
All right. Since we know Ma and Pa Kettle, who else liked? Is anybody else like Francis the Talking Mule?
What's it? Mr. Ed. Let's see.
Mr. Ed was okay, but Francis the Talking Mule that was more my kick. Yeah, anybody can do anything with a horse, but to get the mule to do a trick or do something, that
Didn't
takes
he kick
skill.
field goals?
Yes, he did. So he got a sports tie-in with him.
That's right. He went to college. Mule did, and made the football team. Yeah.
I forgot about that, but I remember it now. Oh Lordy.
Donald O'Connor, I think, was
that was him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the army. Francis was in the army. He had quite the career. He probably ended up in the glue factory, Peggy.
Oh, sad.
Well, I think we've run out of things to talk about. Huh. And we still have 11 minutes.
Don't you have a good...
The states are starting to open up, or at least talking about opening up.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Jacksonville where they opened up the beaches.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, and people they're shoulder to shoulder. I mean, they're not observing any kind of distancing.
Well, where that wouldn't be a problem though. They could have the Jacksonville Jaguars play because no one goes to games anyway.
That's true, or the Tampa Bay Rays baseball team.
Yeah, I mean, so there's two teams that can host all the games.
Yeah.
Not dissing on Florida. Peggy. It's just the fact. I mean, they shut the top half of Jacksonville Stadium off because there's so few people there for football.
Really?
Yeah.
Jacksonville is really a great town. I saw the Jaguars. I'm not the owner of the Jaguars. Had a beautiful yacht that was in the harbor when I was in Jacksonville. It was, but I don't know that there were any. There must have been a game in town or something. I don't know. For some reason, he was there. Not that was really very interesting.
Well, they used to have cool uniforms. Then they've got those atrocities they wear now.
The rabbi who lives in my driveway, he used to be a drug runner in Florida, Peggy.
A rabbi?
Yeah. He'd go to Bimini. You ever been to Bimini?
No. Have
Do you know where Bimini is?
Somewhere in the Caribbean.
It's in the Caribbean, and that's where the drug runners would congregate, because Bimini does not belong to the United States. And so, yeah. Oh, he's led quite the interesting life, trust me.
Really? Was he already a rabbi when he did that, or was that his pre-rabbi?
That was pre-rabbi. See, he's on his way to Florida via Texas right now. He's going to show up somewhere near West Palm.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to buy a property there, actually, somewhere by the Intercoastal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Intercoastal Waterway.
So he's got a mom who is down there in a nursing facility. And so he's going down and sort of helping out with mom, because mom's decided that no nursing facility can hold her, damn it.
Well, all of our like nursing homes and assisted living facilities, they're all on lockdown, so people can't even visit their relatives. They can talk through a window.
She escaped.
She escaped, and over there they've had a lot of run in Miami, in that area, that they've had a lot of deaths in the nursing homes there.
Yeah, she actually, I don't know if she went out a window, I don't know, but she showed up at the rabbi's sister's house or condo, and decided not to go back necessarily. That she felt much better now, in the immortal words of Monty Python. But,
well, I don't blame her. I would want to get out of there too.
Because they're getting Jello at every meal. You know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nursing home people get Jello and tapioca pudding every single meal.
And you know that pudding's coming out of like these gallon tubs.
Doesn't sound very appealing. But
Well,
then some people are eating SpaghettiOs and Spam.
Whoa. No, that's good stuff. You know what? I'm going to call the rabbi and have him put an RV in your driveway, Peg. Why should John get all the fun?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And,
so
how's all the stuff going on that the rabbi is doing by in Amelia Earhart's old house? Isn't the rabbi putting together some kind of a...
He's got a plan. Yes, he does. He has a plan. It's almost more dangerous to have a rabbi living in your driveway who has a plan. Now, I do want to mention this. Have you had the Haagen-Dazs alcoholic ice creams?
No.
No,
Okay,
I haven't even heard of it.
the bourbon and vanilla bean ice cream was quite wonderful. They have an entire series, Haagen-Dazs does, of alcoholic ice cream. And I enjoyed the bourbon vanilla bean. It worked so nicely on a hot chocolate brownie.
Ooh.
You know, I eat all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I say, I like SpaghettiOs cold from a can. I like Spam. I'll eat squirrels and rabbits, but I only like one kind of ice cream, just plain old vanilla.
Yeah.
So
What about
I
vanilla, plain old vanilla though, with bourbon in it?
no, I don't like anything in I like my ice cream straight up.
I'll be darned. Huh. You know, some of our
Amish ice cream is really good.
Yeah, how
Since
do you
you
keep
guys-
it frozen?
Well, the ones that the Amish people who live here have really, really good ice cream and
what
baked goods and stuff.
what happens when the Amish people who live there get old? Do they go to an Amish nursing home?
I don't know. A lot of them are just riding around on three-wheel bicycles. Some of
Yeah.
them have motorized three-wheel bicycles.
They can't be officially old people unless they're watching Murder, She Wrote.
Murder and Baywatch.
Well, it is Florida, yeah.
Yeah.
Is Baywatch still on? I
I
didn't know
have
that
no
was
idea.
still on.
It'll live forever in syndication.
And they will not miss the wheel.
Oh,
Wheel
yeah.
of Fortune, yeah.
That's right. They've got to see the wheel while they're eating their multicolored jello.
Yeah, I'm going to guess the Amish don't know enough about the world to play Jeopardy.
Probably not. And actually, Amish people on three-wheeled bicycles riding around in the state of Florida.
It's a
pretty
little
much-
scary on the
Pretty
road.
much
Actually,
they're living in jeopardy at that point, I would think.
Yeah, Granny Blue Hair takes out the whole family. And you can't put them in an ambulance to take them to the hospital.
well, we do have like people who occasionally like are driving along and they forget what they're doing and they end up in somebody's swimming pool. Just they forgot which was the brake and which was the gas.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Get a lot of those crashes here too, and they're like, I just don't know what happened. The car just took off. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and if we have hurricanes, we have people who just get in their cars and drive, and then they end up and they don't know where they are and what they're doing, and there's no place for them to go really. You know, there's not. So they sometimes end up like at the jail because that's a facility where they can take them immediately. You know, it's scary.
Well, and the nice thing about Florida, in my estimation, Charles Darwin invented the state of Florida to sort of take care of the dumbasses here in this country and wipe them all out and make them go out to sea. That's
kind of cruel.
Well,
you know, John, we're getting up there to that age where
what?
We better watch out or somebody's going to put us on an iceberg and float us off to sea. Like maybe that's what they're hoping with the coronavirus.
If they put me on an iceberg, I'm going to get on top and I'm going to yell, I'm king of the world and dive off.
That's right. Hey guys, it's about 7 o'clock and I think we've killed another hour. it's an hour that both of our listeners are never going to get back. We're not going to get it back, but kill it, we did. And so I want to thank everybody that is even thinking about listening to our podcast. We'll see you next Monday. I'm John Guy.
And I'm Eli Racevich with Gracie the Wiener Dog.
And I'm Peg Palmer. Good
The
night and good luck, huh?
Good
The
night and
Siren of
good luck.
Sarasota. See you guys
Bye.
next week.
See you. Take care.